What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of live streaming, and I've got a great guest to break down an epic pay-per-view card at UFC 288 featuring a bantamweight championship that we're all very excited for. A lot of questions surrounding the reigning, defending Aljamain Sterling as he welcomes back Triple C, Henry Cejudo, the only man to hold both an Olympic gold medal and 2 UFC titles. Pretty amazing stuff. Flyweight champion and bantamweight champion left the sport on top, seemingly, and now just waiting for his chance to pounce back on the division. So I'm excited for that. We have 14 fights still on this card, a couple late shakeups here, but all said and done, it's one of these cards that doesn't exactly scream like the highest excitement level for a pay-per-view card, but all things considered, the main event, I think, carries a lot of the weight. Co-main event, Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns is a co-main event at 5 rounds at 170, so that also does help beef up this card a bit with like title implications. And not to mention, there's so many people in this handicapping arena that are going to be there in New York, New Jersey. So I'm jealous of you guys. My guest, Dale, who you've seen on the show before from the PunchlistMMA podcast, is one of those lucky people showing up this weekend. I hope you guys all congregate and get a big MMA handicapper group photo or something for the rest of us that aren't there. So how are you doing, Dale?
I'm good, man. I am excited, man. We'll get into this later on, but not only is it pay-per-view week, it's Drew Dober fight week, which is essentially like tax return season, right? I mean, that's really kind of how I feel. Every time Dober fights, I get another tax return. It's great.
Money train.
He really has been. But we'll talk about Drew later on. But no, dude, I'm excited to be here. We did our thing a couple weeks back, and it was so nice we had to do it twice. So here we are. We're going to do it again. And what is it? Is it for the Charlotte card you're coming on mine, or which one?
Yes.
Which one?
Yeah,
okay.
Next week, right?
So next week you'll be on my show too. So I like this little like alternating thing here. It's really cool, man. So yeah, I look forward to that card. But we have a great one here, man. So let's dive into it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm excited. We can shout out the chat real fast. Of course, the guy Daz Files in the house, always showing love to us first in the chat. Anthony W, always showing love as well, saying, let's go, boys. This card is going to be amazing. It certainly is. The certified gem of MMA Twitter herself, Jenna Marie, saying, let's go. What's up, my guy Pat, and guest Dale. And yeah, Dale, all of your links are, of course, in the description. If you want to just once again plug the show, you've been in this game for a long time, and certainly when people hear you speak, they're going to know that you're more of a professional than most of us at this broadcasting thing. You're going wild on Spotify and still rebuilding the YouTube that you've had to restart. So
yeah, I mean, the YouTube is what it is, right? I had a partner in the show. He left, deleted the YouTube channel. It is what it is, right? I'm not really worried about that. I largely do YouTube because, as you know, I use StreamYard just like you, and it gives us the option to stream. So we do. If people join, that's great. I'm all about that YouTube life. Audio's really where it's at. And then first, most of all, honestly, is just trying to be a different voice in the game, right? There's plenty of guys and girls out there, if we're being honest, that are probably a lot sharper than me in this, but I've been around long enough and I'm, whatever you want to call it, battle tested and tried and true and all those cliche handicap crapper things that people say. But I've been around for a long time and we make it work. We do what we can. I will say this, that my show is unlike any others. There's no other MMA show out there that is quite like mine because half of it is MMA and anywhere from another half to 3/4 is me somehow getting belligerently rant driven on various topics.
And that's what we stay for. That's what we show up and stay for.
Right. I just don't have enough of that to make a whole show.
And as if to make my point that you're professional, you actually have a producer on the sticks for you. You got producer Jake, who is real. I saw him and I talked to him. I swore for a long time that guy was just like a figment of your, senile imagination as you're,
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not. He's real.
He's a real person. And I do want to shout out Daz in the chat because you and I talked about it on Saturday, and then we got into it on my show last night, Tuesday nights, 9:30 Eastern on YouTube. How many knees does a kangaroo have? And I don't want to hijack your show here, Pat.
Oh, yeah.
But I seriously need to know, Daz is our resident Australian, if he could figure this out for me as our man on the ground.
Don't they have like one knee, but then they have like a giant foot, which looks like another knee? I think it's like a little skinny ankle with like a long protruding foot.
Well, here's the thing, though, is I looked it up, and if you try to look it up, like if you just Google how many knees the kangaroos have, it tells you how many legs they have. They are the only 5-legged mammal on Earth because they consider that what we would call a tail, that's actually a leg. So they're the only 5-legged mammal. So if that's a leg, and then the little ones are legs, it would stand to reason that they either have 4 knees or they have 6 knees. And I need to know, Daz. I need to know how many knees kangaroos have, please.
Yeah, Daz, our resident supporter from down under, he should know. He probably has like a few. He probably has a pack of them. What do you call a group of kangaroos? You call them a pack, a pack, a team, a squad,
a
gaggle.
I think it's a squadaroos. I think is what they call them. That's a squad.
He says no idea. I'll use that I was born in New Zealand as defense.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I've got no defense for this. I'm a biologist, for Christ's sake, but I avoided anything to do with like animals and like macro stuff. I do micro and biochem. It's not my bag. Fiddling around with animals at the zoo. I'm not that type of biologist.
Have you said that openly on your show before? Like, do people know how like smart you are? Like,
I don't know. I don't think so. It doesn't come. It's not relevant to MMA unless it comes to like the drug. People probably wonder why I know so much about drug testing and that type of thing. That's more of like my area of biochem. But yeah, so. Yeah, that is what I do. You know, I work in like, you know, you could say the big pharma. You can say that.
Big pharma, bro. You're my arch enemy, bro. You're my arch nemesis.
Yeah.
So,
but we can move into these 14 fights, and good to see Shady in here as well.
I do. I love Shady. Shout out Shady.
Hey, thank you for vouching for us, man. I appreciate you. Shady's always in here showing love, retweeting, giving the best Arnold gifs on Twitter as well. And Dad's gonna ask around. It's going around the streets asking how many knees a kangaroo has. Fight Talk only. What is up? Good to see you in here as we break into the first prelim of the night. We got 14 of these. It'll take some time. There's obviously some that will dive in more than others, but the first fight of the night. I've got a lot of bets in this card, by the way, Dale. I like this card from a betting perspective.
Ooh,
after like back-to-back weeks, the past couple of not liking it from a betting perspective, this one I like.
Sure.
And we're kicking it off with a bantamweight scrap between Daniel Santos and Johnny Munoz Jr., 2 guys with pretty good records, 10-2 for Daniel Santos, 12-2 for Johnny Munoz Jr. And this is sort of a striker versus grappler matchup. Obviously, Johnny Munoz Jr. is most comfortable getting the fight to the mat. We did see some of his fundamental striking on display in his last win over Ludovic Sholinian. But Daniel Santos is no slouch on the ground. This guy's a shoot-to-box fighter, obviously down there at the Diego Lima team with all those blonde-haired Brazilians. Like somebody else on this card that we're going to see for the first time, but also the former champion Charles Oliveira. And Santos, man, he's coming off of costing me a lot of money by defeating John Castaneda. I thought Castaneda was the goods, and I still think he is very, very good, but he had knocked down Daniel Santos a million times, and kind of like in Charles Oliveira-esque fashion, he came back in round 2 and then just roasted Castaneda, who would put everything into try and finish Santos in round 1. So nice TKO stoppage in his last win. I think this is a step down in competition, really. Like if he stays on his feet, I think he pieces Munoz up and wins inside the distance. I got 2 units on Santos at -155. Current odds, we're looking at Daniel Santos around a -180 to -185 favorite. Munoz Jr. plus 160. What do you like from this from a betting perspective, and who do you choose in this matchup?
Well, I think 10,000 foot view, you nailed it, right? Munoz is obviously the threat on the ground. We're rudimentary on the feet. And then we've got Santos. He's on that Brazilian horse meat, just like all those guys in that camp, man.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know, the O2 stats seem to be like through the roof. They don't get tired. It's like a new thing that, you know, previously weight cutting and cardio used to be an issue. And out of that camp, it is no more. So they're either, you know, they've either brought in a new strength and conditioning coach. They've got a cycle that USADA hasn't picked up on, or maybe it's the hair dye, the Brazilian meat. I don't know what it is. But I'm not going against anybody in that camp for the time being. I like you, thought Castaneda was the goods. I lost a pretty little handful on that fight. It was one of those fights where watching it, I'm thinking if Tognoni is the referee here, he'll surely screw this up and we'll get him out of there. But he wasn't there, you know, so he just continues to be a scourge on other fights, never when it's in my favor. But yeah, man, I think it's this. I think if you're on the Santos side, it's knockout. Now, -180, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot for just a money line play. I'd be looking into parlaying with like a heavier favorite like Chaos Williams or something like that we get in later on. So he's a high confident -180 with a guy like Chaos. You can definitely bring that price down and get closer to that plus money side of things. So I would lean that way. But truth be told, inside the distance looks a little spicy here based on both of these gentlemen having a penchant to win fights. and fade a little bit more down the stretch. So even though I just said Santos has good cardio, he's muscle bound, man. That lactic acid supposedly is a thing I've heard.
At this point, looking at the under 2.5 on BetOnline right now is at minus 145. That's cheaper than the money line of Santos, and we both agree that he probably should finish this fight. Munoz Jr. has been knocked out by some very short punches from Tony Gravely. Remember that short little uppercut that the broadcast had no idea. They're like, did he run into his hip? What happened there?
Yep.
And they had to run it back and see the shortest, little 1-inch punch that knocked him out. So I could see Santos pulling that off. But if Santos gets too out of control and finds himself, backpacked by Munoz Jr., he could be in trouble there. I really do think his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense is going to be pretty good. But either way, 2 finishers here. Johnny Munoz Jr., 12 wins. 9 of those have been inside the distance finishes, 7 submissions, 2 knockouts. Sort of the same from Santos. So, yeah, maybe the under is the way to play this as well. If you're looking strictly at Santos inside the distance, what are we looking at for that here? We're looking at minus 105. So,
right.
I mean, that cuts. I feel like you would rather go the cover both sides on that one, to be honest, especially how hittable Santos has been.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get stingy about your pennies, you can go under 2.5, but you're only going minus 200 to just take inside the distance. You're still looking at 50 cents on the dollar return there. So if you're looking at something to build your beer bankroll to start the night, that's a great one to just roll the dice on. I mean, I'll take that kind of action on guys that are a penchant of finishing fights. And don't forget, this is a pay-per-view that will be in front of a live crowd. I know we have so many cards now that come through the Apex, but pay-per-views are a thing. It's worth noting still, we're not quite at the point where it's, we don't need to mention it anymore. Live events are still rare enough that it does factor into what's happening. I mean,
very true.
That they will be there. And you and I know 2 people personally that will be there like 7 rows off the cage that we'll probably hear from the very beginning. So it's not like they're going to be fighting in front of an empty crowd.
Right. Yeah, and they still do that thing you can tell when they put somebody, very exciting like Santos, but hittable. You see there's a bit of a discrepancy here on the feet and on the ground for both guys. So I think they're trying to tee up an exciting fight to kick this one off with violence. So, and I want to hear my guy Mushroom, who I'll be streaming with later on tonight on Couch Warriors channel in our panel. He's going to probably be screaming violence, as that's his catchphrase. So he'll be screaming it from the mountaintops, hopefully pretty wasted. We got a few people filtering in. My guy Dev the Dude, MMA Jesus 420. Check him out on YouTube and on the Twitter and Instagram. Good to see you, Dev. Houdini Beats, awesome subscriber, supporter in here. Happy fight week, my friend. Fight Talk. Would I ever try horse meat? I've never tried it before, but I definitely would. One of my heroes, Alistair Overeem, swore that that's why he got jacked and that's why he failed his testosterone test. So I'd love to get beefed up on some horse meat. Anybody got any horses that can donate my way?
I've had
some kangaroo meat from Daz.
I've had kangaroo and horse. I have had both.
You've eaten an animal. You don't know how many knees it has.
That's true. I had it. There was a. I don't know if it's still there. There used to be like a specialty burger place right outside of Pittsburgh. And they had like this meat of the month thing where they would do like exotic animals. Like
that sounds real sketchy, but
Dude,
I like it.
I mean, there's a website. I think it's exoticmeatmarket.com or something like that, where you can go buy lion. You can get lion and kangaroo and all kinds of stuff, man. There's a wildebeest. You can get all kinds of stuff in there.
Can I get critically endangered giant panda?
I think you probably could. I think you. That's
need
probably
to raise my unit size or have a big weekend for that probably. But good to see you, Rob Lawrence, in here as well. And he's saying he's got Peruvian Paso horses. They're my babies. Oh my god. Well,
wow. All right, bro.
Stop offering them up. You're getting me hungry over here with your horse meat comments. So
talent.
We're on the same side of that one at Bantamweight. We can move along to the second fight of the night, which is the debut of a Dana White Contender Series alumnus Rafael Estevam, the Brazilian at 11-0, coming in here against Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who at flyweight has just not been able to catch a break. Like if you would have told me that Zhalgas, after his Fight Night Global run, was going to come into the UFC and go 1-5, that would have been pretty shocking to hear, especially on a 3-fight losing streak at this point.
Yeah,
coming off the heels of that, once again, a split decision loss to Charles Johnson. Very close one. After getting fouled a million times, it hurt to see him lose that fight. But I did have money on Johnson, so I didn't care that much. But Rafael Estevam is a guy at 26 years old that I saw his Dana White Contender Series fight and a few others. Loves the wrestling. He times his takedowns very well. relentless top pressure, and doesn't just hold position, but he's throwing elbows and punches and really staying active on top. I love that style. Zhalgas has been notoriously hard to take down, though, especially in the UFC. Pre-UFC, taken down a lot, but by good guys like Bagotinov, Tagir Lembekov, but I think only Amir Albazi in the UFC has actually taken this guy down. So leaves a bit of a question mark to see how good Estevam is coming in here against the guys experienced, at least as Zhumagulov. Zhalgas is always undersized. He tends to really fight to the level of his opponents, which is why he's getting in these split calls. If you're throwing 40 significant strikes and landing those on Zhalgas, he's going to land 39. If you're landing over 100 like Charles Johnson in the last fight, Zhalgas will be right there with you, but still lose the fight. So I'm going to slightly where the money line is at now. We're looking at Zhalgas at plus 155, minus 180 on Estevam. Money has been coming in on Estevam.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. But where the money line is at now, I'm on the Zhalgas side. Not going to play this one, though. The only investment I have on this one, Dale, is in like a prop round robin of just long shots for the week.
Right.
Fight goes to split decision, will be one of those round robin legs. That's it.
As it should be. As it really should be.
So I'm leaning Zhalgas on the money line, but as a pick, I'm not invested in that, So where do you line on this, man? What do you think about Zhalgas's haircut this week?
I was on him before I saw him, and now that I've seen him, I don't know. I really don't know. The hair is wild. Now, I don't know if he's taken like the vow of the Nazarene, where he's going to let his hair grow and like all his strength is now in his hair. I mean, there's a whole contingency of people out there, man, that believe that your hair acts as like a tuning fork for the universe, man. It helps ground you and makes you draw power in and stuff like that. But if you see Zhalgas's hair, if you haven't seen it, I encourage anybody to go ahead and hit Uncle G up and pull that up. It is awful. I mean, it's something unique, that's for sure. Here's the thing, like you said, eloquently, he fights to the level of his competition, and that's why the split decisions always show up. To me, I read that as a guy, is he going to fight for my money? Is he easy to finish? And both of the answer to the first part of that is yes, he's going to fight for my money. And is he hard to finish? He's also hard to finish as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just let it ride based on the fact that, much like Courtney Casey, not to compare men and women, but they have a similar ability to find themselves in split decisions. It's very strange the way we have some fighters on the roster that fight in a way, and Charles Johnson is one of them, which he conveniently went to split decision with Zhalgas. They have a fighting style that's tough to score. They're very effective in spurts. Their output is not particularly noticeable. They have decent counters. They're not always offensive, but when they are, they tend to be effective, and they can't finish anybody. So you find yourself at the end of a round going, okay, I guess maybe they won. And then you just mark it down on the scorecard. They keep finding themselves in these positions of split decisions, and Zhalgas more recently. So yeah, a guy that, I'm not worried about him getting finished. And I know he's going to fight, as hard as he possibly can. At least I hope so. I hope the hair doesn't affect that too much. He's worth a stab at underdog money. You could do worse.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, just because of how undersized he is. Is he mentally fired up for this, or is he like checked out? Like that frustrated. And Estevam is good enough at 11-0 and young enough at the flyweight division where I don't want to get in the way of Zhalgas, but that is the way I would go with it if I had to lay a bet. I'd lay myself on that plus money, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one, man. It really is a tough one. Gary is saying that we skipped the Holmes. Yeah, I went slightly out of order. This is the third fight of the night we went to, so we'll go right next to Joseph Holmes versus Claudio Ribeiro at 185, which is a very exciting fight, but it's extremely low level in my opinion. Like, oddly enough, I like Claudio Ribeiro in this fight by knockout, but I don't like the fact that he's so unskilled at mixed martial arts. You know what I mean? Like, Joseph Holmes could game plan this very well and stall him against the cage like Abdul Razak Al-Hassan did, and then probably not finish Ribeiro late, but just grind him out and hopefully get the fight to the mat where he can use his jiu-jitsu. But Joseph Holmes is just, I don't think he's aggressive enough or physical enough to match just the wild, chaotic firefight that Ribeiro is going to get him into. So the money line on this fight we're looking at, and this is also what makes me not like it very much is minus 180 for Ribeiro, plus 150 for Joseph Holmes. It just seems to me like Joseph Holmes has gotten by off of his physicality, his giant 80-inch reach. He's 6'4" or something at the weight class. But when he even matched a guy like Jamie Pickett, who has those same attributes, Jamie Pickett was able to beat him. So
right.
what are we doing here? And then a guy smaller than him, that's just more technical, Park was able to box him up at close range, take him down, tap him out. So I got to go with Ribeiro, who's just a wild man, who's just going to bring awkward angled punches and haymakers and probably end this fight. But he could also gas out, So give me Ribeiro by knockout if I had to play it. But this is one of the lower confidence picks of the entire card. How are you feeling about this one?
I think the operative word here is low, right? Low confidence, low skill, low hype, low interest. These are, and I don't know who they're a second or a close third place would be. These are the two worst middleweights on the roster. I would argue. I would challenge anybody to find people that are worse than them at middleweight currently. I don't know of anybody. At least Joseph Holmes. Holmes is he's the bottom, right? Who's out there right now that's worse than him? Ribeiro is only slightly better, and honestly, I think it's just because he's bottled lightning more than Holmes has, as far as getting lucky, and maybe he has a little bit more of a skill set. But even then, it's not by much, man. This will be super sloppy. This will be very low level. To your point, which, I'm just going to get ahead of it now. Both these guys are professional fighters, and they would kill me. Okay, we'll just get that out of the way. But I'm just going to go ahead and just preface it by saying,
Ribeiro reminds me of like a Johnny Walker type of
yes,
guy, right?
Yes,
a Johnny Walker. But Johnny Walker was able to string together enough wins by knockout early on, where it was pretty impressive. Guys like Roundtree, guys like who else am I thinking of? Justin Ledet. He had enough really fast knockouts where he was able to bottle that lightning, like you said,
right,
and eventually get exposed later. But still, he arises to the occasion. Could Ribeiro be that guy? Maybe, but he's already stumbled against just being clinched and held against the cage, and that slowed him down.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you do here. Even Ribeiro by KO is minus money. So there's I can't touch it. Under 2.5, you're looking at the minus 300 range. You could try to get spicy with under 1.5 at that minus 125 spot, but even then, you're really putting a lot of faith in low level guys to do exactly that. And truth be told, I think both these guys, it's a must-win fight for them, regardless of career trajectory and momentum. And I think they might fight like it. I think you're more likely to see Ribeiro be wild than Holmes. I think Holmes might come out and try to be as measured as he can be. To try to, maybe put some miles on the tires of Ribeiro as the fight progresses. I doubt it, though. I like
the technique of Holmes and what he's got to offer, but he's not going to be as fast and light on his feet and creative, unpredictable. It's going to be a slow fight. He's got to avoid that danger early enough. And the problem is like you said, you're betting chalk if you bet Ribeiro by knockout. We've never seen Joseph Holmes knocked out. So how are we supposed to know that he's, not got some granite chin we don't know about? I doubt it. And I think he does get knocked out if I had to call it, but betting on it at minus money, there's just no way. So I don't know.
This will be when I'm walking around the arena trying to meet up with various Twitter personality folks. And I will say this, I said it on my channel last night. I'll say it on yours real quick before we progress. I'll have some punch list swag with me at the event. So if you're going to be there, hit me up on Twitter and we'll meet up and, we'll do whatever it is that we do. And I'll leave you with more than just a handshake and a how are you? I got some swag I'm bringing with me.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see who you link up with there and see what photo albums arise on Twitter that night of people meeting up. That'll be cool.
Our boy Lou Betcha said he wanted to go beat up bums after the fact. I don't know what that was all about. He was like,
that sounds like Lou.
He's like, we got to go roll some hobos after. I was like, all right, man, sounds good.
Yeah, he's a certified homeless man abuser. That's what I've heard. He just sees a guy sleeping with a newspaper over him. He just takes it, crumples it up.
Lou's secretly Patrick Bateman. He just goes around and shoots homeless guys.
There's some harsh accusations, but I don't think he'd be too upset about it. But we can move on to middleweight here. Phil Hawes taking on Ikram Aliskerov. The debut of Ikram Aliskerov, another guy we've seen on the Contender Series before that had a very easy fight against Mario Souza, Kimura him. And it was a Kimura, right? That he got him with in round like 2 minutes into round one. And he's got a few of those on his record. Like he loves getting that Kimura, stepping over and cranking the shoulder. But Ikram Aliskerov, man, the only time we've ever seen him struggle was against Khamzat Chimaev. So what better record to have than having a 13-1 record, and that one loss is to, somebody that's forgivable if you get uppercutted into the shadow realm by. But taking on Phil Hawes, who has pretty much everything you'd want in a fighter except for the durability, except for maybe the elite cardio. I think Phil Hawes has decent cardio for how he's built and like the explosive power he can bring, but he's got knockout power early. He's got very good wrestling that he brings, that D1 wrestling background. Somehow I feel like he's just rather untested as far as people shooting takedowns on him. Like he gets knocked out a lot, and he faces a lot of guys like that can really test that chin of his. But there's not a lot of people that are like even trying to take down Phil Hawes. If you look back at his record, I think it's only been Kyle Dawkins who was unsuccessful, but that's, kind of like a jiu-jitsu guy that was okay to just be in whatever position he could throw up submissions from. So coming off of that loss to Roman Dolidze, where he got his knee just unscrewed early on and then knocked out on the feet, Phil Hawes is coming here against a pretty scary Russian whose striking I don't think is great for Aliskerov, but I do like his relentless takedown attempts. He's got that chain wrestling ability. I think that eventually will wear down on Phil Hawes, and I think he will get him down to the mat at some point.
Sure.
But I'm not paying the cost on him. You know what I mean? Like minus 210 for Aliskerov, plus 180 for Phil Hawes. I'm not finding myself eager to go up against Phil Hawes in this spot, even though I think Aliskerov will wear him down and probably either get a dominant decision or get him out of there. This might be like a live betting spot you could probably try once you avoid that early Phil Hawes explosive power. In round two, maybe you can look at Aliskerov if it's equal to his money line now or better. But I lean Aliskerov. I lean late finish or decision, but no betting on this one for me. I promise I will have bets later on. Like I said, I like this card from a betting perspective. I gave you the Santos one. That one I'm convicted on, but this fight, not so much. What do you think about Phil Hawes in general, man?
I don't understand how he's back so soon. I mean,
yeah,
Roman Dolidze made his knee face the wrong direction.
When was that?
That was 7 months ago.
7 months ago. Already.
That was 7 months ago when Roman Dolidze ripped his knee.
That was at Qatar versus Allen, the end of October. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So he did that, and then he pushed his jaw through the back of his skull afterwards. I mean, that was a violent, to use the buzzword, like those were memeable moments. I mean, he dog walked Phil Hawes. Like that was really bad. In 7 months, he's right back. Aliskerov, you can get submission and knockout. Both are like at the plus 225 to plus 250 range. You can just get him inside the distance at even money. Like you said, the chief issue with Phil Hawes is durability. I understand the D1 wrestling background, Penn State, what up, all that kind of stuff. I get it. I understand. But I mean, I thought, I think I even tweeted it after it happened. Like, we'll see Phil Hawes in 18 months. Like, rest easy, player. Like your ACL, MCL, LCL, and your jaw is gone. But here he is, he's right back. So apparently it was like the Crow Cop Gonzaga thing where it looked disgusting, but it wasn't actually broken. So here he is, he's back, but I still don't think he's very durable. I still think he fades down the stretch, and it's a Russian, bro. I mean, we're, if nothing else, Caucasus Mountain Warrior action. I'll take him. I'll take him inside the distance at even money. Sure. Let's do that. I'll take that.
I'm seeing Aliskerov even on BetOnline. I'm looking at inside the distance at plus 110 for Aliskerov.
Give me that. Give me that dime.
Maybe the late round props would actually be interesting as well if Hawes does fade late into fights. Mm-hmm. I've seen that happen quite a few times if he's made it late. And every single one of his losses has been from strikes. The Roman Dolidze one obviously was set up since he couldn't escape, but he got knocked out from those punches. Chris Curtis knocked him out in round one. Julian Marquez head kicked him on the Contender Series. Out cold, against the cage. And Lewis Taylor got a guillotine in World Series of Fighting, but that was set up by strikes. That was like a clubbing sub, basically. So, yeah, the guy's chin is not great. Like, every fighter lacks something, right? Like, you can't have just the muscle build of a D1 wrestler, knockout power early, takedown defense at 100% so far, but it's the chin. There's got to be something. There's always a trade-off, right?
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what Aliskerov's all about. This guy, he's looked not overly impressive in Brave CF is where he's had most of his fights. I think like every fight besides the Contender Series and Eagle FC, I saw him fight there.
Right. Right.
He's looked like he slows down. Obviously, if you're going for 100 takedown attempts in the fight, you're going to slow down. His hands look very basic, but blending that train wrestling game plan with some decent striking at a young age, I think he's going to be able to get one over on Phil Hawes. So that's where I'm at with it. I wonder. I just don't know how to play Phil Hawes, even if I wanted to. Like I guess if you had some strong lead on him, take his money line. Or maybe like a Phil Hawes, if you could do a same game parlay of him like under 2.5 rounds, with maybe I don't know, tied on take. Like I feel like he would have to keep this fight standing.
With a guy that has such a challenge staying conscious, there's other spots on the card where you could try to get cute. This is not one of them. Like this is this is pick a side and keep it moving. Realistically, I don't know. I wouldn't go deep into the value well on Phil Hawes and see what you can find, man.
See, when I do my full card breakdowns and I look at the research, I look at the tape, and I make my final conclusions and do my video for the week, I don't look at anybody else's opinions of it.
Yep.
But then after the fact, like now when I do this show, like I've watched a lot of content and I see a lot of really sharp people on Phil Hawes that are liking that plus money, not impressed by Aliskerov, and it gets me thinking about like,
sure, am
I counting out Phil Hawes here? Has he gotten a bad break with some good experienced fighters? But yeah, I think you're right.
No, just go with what your belly tells you, buddy. If your belly says no, then you just listen to that.
Victor De Jesus, what's up, Patrick, Dale, and fellow Degens? Happy Parker Porter fight week? No. It's happy Braxton Smith fight week, my friend. You were dead wrong on that one. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Daz is hoping that Phil Hawes doesn't get KO'd in this spot. Hey, man, we'll see. He's got some good experience under his belt, at least, and some good early explosive power. Yep. Mushroom in the house. Say what's up, my brother Patrick, and what's up, Dale?
What's up,
like I said, I'll be on Couch Warriors podcast co-hosting our panel for the pay-per-view week with our guest Liam Picks Fights and Mushroom MMA. So that'll be a lot of fun later on at 11 p.m. Central Time tonight. So we can move right along. Yeah, I know it's a long night, baby.
Bro, that's late.
Talking fights all night. Parker Porter up next versus Braxton Smith. The debut of Braxton Smith at heavyweight. This is like that low-level bum heavyweight fight of the night. I really don't like when cards don't have one of these. Like if there's a card where there's no heavyweight action, I'm always very sad, and it seems like the card is just missing something. But this card has it, and it's in the 5th fight of the night. And Parker Porter, coming off of his knockout loss to Justin Tafa in round 1. He's like, we talked about the durability issue of Phil Hawes. Parker Porter, man, he's been knocked out quite a bit, 4 times in his career. Before the Justin Tafa loss, he got just mauled by Sheldon Almeida, who's headlining next week's card, so not a big loss there by rear naked choke. But dude, it might just be the meathead in me, but I'm backing Braxton Smith in this spot, dude. Like he's got to do one. This is as close as I'm going to get to seeing some big fat guy like me in the octagon that's like stiff as a board,
yeah,
not loose or relaxed at all with the striking at this point. Probably no cardio. But, dude, I will tell you this, Dale. I have been struggling. I was talking to Brady all week from DFS by the numbers.
Right.
Keeping him updated on – everybody says, Braxton Smith, 5-1 record. His one loss was his professional debut 9 years ago to Chase Sherman.
Right.
In both of their debuts in 2014.
Right.
I cannot find that fight anywhere, and I have done such levels of stalking to find that outside of just DMing one of them for the cell phone footage. But I've searched high and low. I started to think that the fight never even happened, and I did find out that was not Chase Sherman's debut. Like the records are lying on that. He fought several times. He even fought a guy named Shrek before he fought Braxton Smith, which is hilarious enough. Great fight, but I stalked through, and the fight did happen, but I have not found footage of it. I did see somebody. I think I saw Chase Sherman's cousin on Facebook post like, "Hey, Chase just won via ground and pound in round 1." So that's all the footage I have, just some text from like a status his cousin made. I went through that level of stalking to try to find this.
That's deep, man.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. So if anybody has that footage, DM me, put it on Twitter and tag me. I want to see that fight. But yeah, I mean, Braxton Smith hits like a truck. I think he gets the job done in round 1. That's his win condition. That is in my like D-Gen round robin for like whatever, $25 I put on that for plus 300 or something like that, plus 320. But Braxton Smith alone, his money line is not big enough for me to play it straight, right? Plus 250 minus 170 for Parker Porter. Come on now. Like, how do you bet either of these people? You know what I mean? Like, how do you bet either one?
Right.
Like, conventional wisdom would tell you that Parker Porter should take him down and grind him out. Yeah, but come on. Just watch this as a fan. If anything, it's Braxton round 1 KO or pass for me.
Yeah, I think that's where it lands. Parker Porter has the body of a heavyweight, but the head of a middleweight, right? Like, so just physiognomy works against him. That's why he goes to sleep so easy, right? He just can't take the power from getting hit from these big boys. That being said, you're on the Braxton side. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to cash your ticket. And then, like, I think saying 5 minutes is generous, saying that you got a full round out of this guy. I think we're closer to probably 2.5 to maybe 3 minutes. Now, how I anticipate this fight playing out is Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, where they just kind of look at each other for a second, and then they both just go, and then they just start, they just get after it. And we're looking at 30 seconds of violence. Now, just where do you think that's going to end up? It's a coin flip, but you have one end of the coin flip that's paying plus money. Sure, why not? Go for it. One thing I would caution anybody to stay away from is you're going to hear people talk about the jiu-jitsu of Parker Porter this week. And I'm here to tell you now, these two bodies, they're too big for jiu-jitsu to be a thing. These guys are too big for jiu-jitsu to be a factor here. It's not going to happen. This fight will end by knockout. Do not get sucked into the Parker Porter jiu-jitsu. It's knockout or bust here. So pick your poison. Me personally, sloppy heavyweight action. I'm a degen, right? So, give me Walmart Bob Sapp. I'll take it.
Let's go. That's the guy I thought of instantly when I saw Braxton Smith. I thought, like, man, this is like a mini Bob Sapp. This is like Bob Sapp's bastard son. He's come back.
It really is.
For revenge in MMA. And Braxton Smith claims he's, because he's a former football player. That's, I guess, why he was out of mixed martial arts for so long, pursuing that. He claims that he runs like a 4.40.
No, it's bullshit. I'm calling it right now.
He can dunk a basketball as well.
It's also not true. None of that's true.
He's 5'11", 250. I guess he's had to make a massive cut. So all 5 of his pro wins have been round 1 knockouts, vicious ones, all in the past year in 2022.
Right.
I saw him post on his Instagram like before that time that he was working with a coach to get him down to like 270 to 265 so he could compete. So he was a lot heavier than that. And now he weighed in, I think, the lightest in his last fight, 257. So,
but here's the thing. Note this as well. Sorry, I mean to cut you off, but it's of note that 2 of those wins are against the same guy. He fought the same guy twice.
Jacory Savage. Yeah.
Right. So it's not like he beat 5 different people. He beat one guy twice too. And one time it took like 40 seconds. The other time it took like a minute or so. Like
the guy improved. You can tell his training had improved. He lasted an extra 5 seconds.
Right.
Against my guy Braxton.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know about that.
I love this fight. This is one of my most anticipated fights. I can't wait for it. I think, if you're going to go with it, go round 1, Walmart Bob Sapp, or you go round 2-3 Parker Porter. That's the way you go. And Grateful Dude is saying that. Porter or Smith round 1 KO.
Yes.
Unders are juiced. It's like minus 1,000. This thing doesn't see the scorecard. Something crazy.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
My guy Jay in the house. What's up, fellas? Let's get it. Good to see you, Jay. Always a pleasure to have you on the stream. And we can move right along. I can't tell you how much I'm rooting for Braxton Smith as a fellow meathead here to get this done.
I hope he does. He'll
be my new favorite fighter for sure.
You gonna buy a fight kit? You think you get a Braxton Smith fight kit?
Yeah. I'll get a 5XL one that I put on my refrigerator.
Bro, come on.
I'll use it as like the cover for my car,
Yeah, is he on Twitter, dude? He's got to be easy to get a hold of. There's no way there's a lot of people sliding into Braxton's DMs.
I'm not sure if he's on Twitter. He's certainly on Instagram. And he looks pretty accessible there. I think he runs. I saw this interview with him from the All Star Network. I think he runs like his own podcast as well for like horror movies.
I love these things. I love how weird some people are, man. Not that in and of itself is weird, but the fact that you're like a professional fighter and running like a horror movie review podcast, it's just it's nuts to me. I don't know why. It's
great. But we can move right along to something a little bit more a little bit more technical, I would say, especially because it's the lightest weight class, moving from the sloppy heavyweight fight. We got Marina Rodriguez taking on Virna Jandiroba. Two Brazilians going at it. One is a striker in Rodriguez. One is a grappler in Jandiroba. And at women's 115, the money line for this one was odd. There was a lot of love, like a lot of sharp action for Virna Jandiroba. The line came crashing down on Marina Rodriguez. I didn't quite understand it because I was considering betting Rodriguez at minus 165 or wherever I saw it. I got it all the way down when it dipped to minus 125. I love Rodriguez in this spot. I put 2 units on her. I just striker versus grappler, man. I just think that Rodriguez is so much better in the striking. I know she gets taken down every single fight, but Jandiroba, she hasn't been fighting many strikers. She's mostly been fighting grapplers, and
right.
You could do some MMA math here and see that like 2 of the people that beat Jandiroba in the striking arena were grapplers, Dern and what's her face, Hebas, and Rodriguez beat them both. So you could do a little bit of MMA math there. If Virna goes in there in 15 seconds and gets a takedown, yeah, it's pretty much going to be her round. But if she gets the takedown 2.5 minutes in, after she's been pieced up on the feet for 2.5 minutes, who's going to win that round? So
sure.
Give me Rodriguez here. How do you feel about this, man? Tell me you're on the Jandiroba side. I want somebody to challenge me on this one. I see so much Virna love.
I mean, I'm on Jandiroba or Jandiroba, however you want to say her last name, in the sense that it's women and it's plus money.
Okay.
And the skill disparity from women is so it's so finite. So me, I love to take stabs on women underdogs. That being said, I don't like Jandiroba's skill set at all. I think she's competent grappler as far as application goes. Like, I don't see her execute to the level that her pedigree would say that she should. Meanwhile, Rodriguez, when she's on, looks like, like a poor man's like vintage Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I mean, she can throw super long combinations together. She's great at mixing in kicks. She's great at getting off the angle. She loves the circle. She makes herself hard to hit when she's on, but then she also has ability to kind of just like, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of shit the bed in bright moments here. And, I don't know what to expect from either one of these ladies. I will say that Jandiroba's got that, it's where I sound real mean here. She got that ugly girl chip on her shoulder where, you never discount an ugly chick in a fist fight, right? So, she's going to come out there. She's going to swing. She's going to fight. She's going to pull the dog out, and hopefully Marina Rodriguez is a willing dance partner. Mm-hmm. But I think if she can get her, like you said, to the mat, get her to the mat early when they're dry. And, I think we get control. I think we get control, and control wins fights here. And women's MMA is ludicrously hard to score. So I think when they're on the feet, latter half of the rounds, Rodriguez will try to go to work, which will leave the judges pondering what they saw for the first 2.5 minutes of Jandiroba holding her. Split decision in a women's fight is always on the table as well. But I'll take Jandiroba just because of women's MMA. And
you got the women's split decision stylistic matchup, right? Of any split decision, you've got grappler versus striker. And
correct.
Both, that's the only way that they win. Jandiroba, 18 wins, 13 submission, 1 by TKO. But that TKO was because Kanata Muraka got her arm trapped in the guard of Jandiroba and twisted out of place. So that technically gave her a knockout, but really that's a submission.
Sure.
So, and same with Marina Rodriguez. She's got 6 knockouts, 1 sub. I don't know when the hell that would have been. A long time ago, I'm sure, on the Brazilian favela regional scene somewhere. But
jungle fight.
Yeah, somewhere in there, somewhere on the, what's that one, Samurai Fight House that you see all the Argentinians competing in?
Yes.
Yeah, Samurai Fight House, where it's in like the community center playpen.
Bro, don't make fun of the community centers. That's where Bellator holds their events, man. Don't.
Well, look, I'll only make fun of the third world country ones.
Oh man, that's where the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, bro. That's where Bellator has.
The Knights of Columbus Center.
The Knights of Columbus Hall, that's right.
But Jandiroba, yeah, she could win this fight. But again, it's like the takedowns I'm not so convinced with, but I'm convinced if she clinches up and then dives on like a limb, and then you got to like, kind of like the Angela Hill fight where Jandiroba just like dove on her leg. And then you're forced to like, you're forced to look at footlock, knee bar action. You got to hold her there. And then meanwhile, the clock is ticking and you're losing minutes trying to fend her off. So yeah, I like your split decision call. I don't mind anybody taking a female MMA fight plus money, but I am on the Rodriguez side, man. I think she's going to piece up Jandiroba.
I hope you're right. I'm just going to say, as far as like ladies and fight styles and who I enjoy watching more, I hope you're right. But it's women's MMA. I always take a chance on the underdog.
And, again, I'm not trying to be rude. You're just like, you're not trying to. I mean, we made fun of all the fat guys. We made fun of
bro, like everybody
Zalagas's haircut, and Shady's talking about the crazy eye. Well, hopefully, if Rodriguez does her job, she'll hit her so many times it'll go back to normal. So that's where I'm going with this. And come on, okay, this is just mean mushroom.
No,
Rob Schneider's losing.
He's absolutely right.
I like it. Let's trust the science in this one. All right, we can move along. But I'm excited for that fight. I always love a good striker versus grappler, two Brazilian chicks scrapping. But moving right along, we have a welterweight matchup between Chaos Williams and Rolando Bedoya. The first time we're seeing Rolando Bedoya. He's one of these shoot-to-box Diego Lima guys down there with those blonde-haired Brazilians like we talked about, Daniel Santos, Charles Oliveira. And you've got Rolando Bedoya, who looks awkwardly boxy for a welterweight, if I'm being honest. A little clunky. He's like a clunkier version of Daniel Santos. Very hittable. I've seen him almost get knocked out in many fights and come back on the regionals and, just start a firefight. And, he just kind of puts a pace on these lower level guys. And he's able to come out the victor of those firefights. But Chaos Williams is not a guy you really want to do that against. The guy who's had a lot of success in the UFC so far. Had a very close fight with Randy Brown, who's high level last May. And now he's taken some time off. So currently, what are we looking at? 4-2 in the UFC for Chaos Williams. 3 of those 4 knockouts, vicious ones. So I think it happens to Bedoya, but Bedoya's never been knocked. Has he been knocked out before? Maybe a couple times?
No, never been knocked out.
Never been knocked out. So tough call on that one, but I don't think he's ever been tested like against a guy like Chaos Williams. So got to go Williams in this one. I think even though Williams is the most technical guy, he's still far more technical than Bedoya is. So, did you watch any tape on Bedoya? Do you have any impressions of this kid?
The only thing my only big takeaway from him is inactivity, right? He seems to be one of these guys that's good for about 1 fight a year. Looking up anything on him, Tapology or otherwise, he's riddled with canceled bouts, and you don't know whether those are because of injuries to him, injuries to opponents, or whatever. He had a fight booked with Daniel Zellhuber, who UFC alum at this point. But that fight never came to fruition. So we don't really have any measuring stick as far as UFC caliber competition goes. You're 100% right in your assessment that Chaos is by far the most technical and probably, without question, the best opponent that Bedoya has ever faced. Now, you have to wonder, did Chaos take this fight seriously? Like, is he approaching Bedoya with the amount of respect that he probably should? Because if he doesn't, I mean, we do have a submission threat in Bedoya here. I'm going to go ahead and probably swim in the current with everybody else in the MMA cap scene this week. If I'm on Chaos, which, I mean, he's a parlay anchor, but if you want to bring the price down, knockout, of course. I mean, he hits so hard. It's just hard to go against him. Plus, he's got some swagger to him. It's really hard to, keep that after getting humbled in certain events, but Chaos continues to strut around like he's untouchable. And like, he knows that if he boops you on your nose, you go night. So I'll take this. I'll take the swagger from Chaos.
Well, I mean, he knocked out Morono super quick, knocked out Abdul Razak Al Hassan very quick. The Pereira fight was close. It was a close fight. He lost it by decision. Semmelsberger, a lot more competitive fight too, but he won it by decision. Miguel Baeza, this is the fight where I really gained a lot of respect for him because I like Miguel Baeza. I know the guy hasn't had a very successful run in the UFC, but he presents a lot of danger threats the same way that Chaos Williams did, and Chaos knocked him out in round 3.
Yeah.
So that shows that he's not just like one of these front-loaded guys where he's going to knock out Morono in 30 seconds or be done. Like, he's got power late into a fight. He can rally back. He's got some cardio to him. And, going as close as he did against Randy Brown, like the only reason that was a split was because he knocked down Randy Brown like in once a round or at least a couple times in round 3 to really close out strong.
Right.
I like him a lot in this spot. I do have the square parlay of the week, which was Chaos Williams with Movsar Evloev, which is now just a 2-unit bet at minus 315 on Chaos Williams. But I don't feel that bad about it, dude. I think this is like the safer part of that one. And I put an extra unit on him to win by knockout, which was at minus 135. So
that's not bad.
Just as far as how hittable Bedoya has shown to be, I think that's pretty likely that he gets knocked out in this spot, even though we haven't seen it before. Bedoya sporting a Regional scene 14-1 record
Watch
for the
out.
Peruvian. Yeah, so I mean, some of these guys, there's been a couple like Elvis Brenner, some of these guys that we've seen that we expect to get maybe pieced up, and they just don't when they make their debut. But
Right.
Chaos Williams hits a lot harder than Jamie Malarkey, even though it's a different weight class here. So
some people have to fit the mold, right? We can't always. I understand the last 2 years, hell, the last 3 years have been very weird for MMA and people breaking the mold, abandoning skill sets that got them to the big show, people, rising to the occasion, people falling under the bright lights, all kinds of weird shit happens. But time and time again, it's a statistical probability for a reason. You're coming in, you're making a debut against a guy that's a minus 300 favorite. You're basically being teed up like a lamb for the slaughter because they want to get people to buy the violence on the pay-per-view. These people, sometimes you play the part. You're going to play the part. Hammer, meat, nail, Chaos Williams.
I like it. Let's roll with that, man. And we're moving right along. We got 23 live viewers in here, man. Make sure you check out all of Dale's links in the description, including not only his YouTube, his Twitter, but his Spotify as well, where he racks up massive numbers on a great podcast he does. So make sure you check that out. Hit the like and subscribe on this channel if you have not. Happy fight week, everybody. And we're moving into the prelim headliner, which is, no, we're not. We're going one more. I teased you there, Dale. I know you're excited for Drew Dober.
Did I literally went like this and then it came right back?
I'm skipping a lot of fights tonight. Like I'm really just interested in the main card, I guess. But we got a light heavyweight bout between Kennedy and Nzechukwu and Devin Clark at 205. And this is one where I see a lot of people like really strong either on the dog, which is Devin Clark, or I see more people on the Nzechukwu side here.
Right.
Why don't you kick this one off for us, man?
Sure.
Tell me what you think about these guys and how you see this one going.
Well, I think so. A lot of the steam you're getting on Kennedy is coming from that he does appear to be improving each and every time out. We had the makeshift last minute main event, the weirdest main event of 2022, him versus Iwan Kutalaba. That was a very weird one. But, it wasn't planning for that. That's just where it ended. And, he got the finish. Every time we see Kennedy, he looks better. But the problem is we're basically starting from ground zero, right? Like, if you remember his debut, commentary was basically like, this guy's been sleeping in the bathroom at the gym. And, they really think that he's got the talent to make it. So we're going to try to we just gave him a shot. Like, no Saif Saud or something like that. Like, he literally was like sleeping in the lobby of the gym.
Don't they mention that is this the guy whose mother has like ALS or something like that
yes,
as well?
Yes, exactly. Right. So it's always the thing, right?
And then he always looks like really sad about it because he's so like slow and plodding and sleepy. And they're always telling like all these unfortunate tales of Kennedy and Nzechukwu as he sleepwalks to the ring.
Right. Exactly. Yes. So like we're just starting from zero, right? We're just starting from zero. That's why he looks better every time out. Devin Clark has faced the much better competition, comes, in my opinion, from a much better camp. However, he's one of these guys, both of them now. Both of them have low fight IQ. Kennedy, just because he hasn't learned enough yet, and Devin, because he's just not going to get it at this point. Like, you've been there with the big dogs. You're at the good camp. You should be executing at a high level. And it's 50-50 as to whether or not what version of you is going to show up every night. And even when you do, you do dumb stuff. So I don't necessarily trust him, but I also rudimentary at best, Kennedy and Jack White. I'm leaning underdog money, but I really, truthfully, do not have a dog in this fight.
I'm with you on this one, man. I'm with you, but I am on the Kennedy side. I think he pulls it out just because this guy is never out of a fight, in my opinion. But he's also never in the fight until I've already counted him out. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not a guy I want to have my money on. It's just going to be stressful. If I had to lean towards a bet on this fight, it would be either like a round 3 or decision Kennedy, or it'd be like a Devin Clark by decision, I would say, because he's not the most dangerous guy. He'd probably have to stall this out against the cage.
Sure.
Use his wrestling, stay inside of that giant reach of the 83-inch reach, and even longer legs for Kennedy. So you got to stay inside of that. Of course, Kennedy is sometimes on, sometimes off, sometimes durable, sometimes he's getting knocked out by Da-Un Jung in a very odd fashion.
Right.
But Devin Clark is kind of the same way. Like, sometimes he's durable and then sometimes he's getting knocked out. But if you're looking at the resume of Devin Clark and his losses and his 8-7 record in the UFC, something crazy like that, almost 50-50. He's fighting a lot of guys that, you can look back and say, okay, that wasn't the worst, right? Anthony Smith still very much in the picture, triangled him. Ian Kuntalaba, that was, a little bit less forgivable. But Azamat Murzakanov, at the time, that kind of seemed like a weird loss, right? Especially in round 3. But now we're seeing Azamat Murzakanov as a very capable guy in all parts of the fight, putting it on Dustin Jacoby just a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, Devin Clark is going to have to really stay on the pressure in this fight. He's got good cardio at this weight class. I do like that from him. But Kennedy, yeah, I just think with those long weapons, it's going to be hard to stay on the inside against him for too long. So give me Kennedy and Nzechukwu, a late finish. This is a very low confidence pick. No money on this fight. I want to look at the prop for Devin Clark by decision. You happen to know what that is? I'm going to look at it right now.
I can look at it.
Just the overs. Just the fight goes to distance is plus 100. The over 2.5 minus 125. We're looking at Devin Clark by points plus 250.
Clark by decisions plus 310.
Plus 310. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you on DraftKings or something like that?
Let's see here. You're at plus 310. Clark by decision. Yeah, you can get it. Let's see here. You can get it on Unibet, Bet Rivers, and Caesars have lines on it right now.
Okay. Yeah, and even I'm looking at plus 300 on DraftKings. So
there you go.
Yeah, you gotta bet online is great for dropping things quickly, but then you always got to go to other books to really look at the juicy props. Right. That's how I would go with this one, man. I don't see Devin Clark finishing in Nzechukwu. I would see this being like a grindy wrestling-based decision. So, Victor De Jesus, a very good prop there. Nzechukwu finish only.
Yes.
I mean, that wouldn't be that bad. Let me see what that would be. We're looking at Bet Online. Win inside the distance. Scorecards, no action. Kennedy, oh man, minus 325. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yikes. What? I don't think so. I see here. Daz is saying in the chat that Kennedy's mom just died. Should we factor that into the narrative? I wouldn't touch this fight with a 10-foot pole if that's true.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I don't, dude. Deathths? No, bro. Absolutely.
What if she was a pain in the ass, always nagging him about shit? Maybe he's gonna be like he's gonna be all smiles on his way to the cage. He's like just totally cool. He's
right,
like eating happy. He's trotting his way down to the cage.
Right. So then he comes out there and he suddenly moves his feet like Muhammad Ali and just pumps a jab for 15 minutes and doesn't get a finish. Yeah, no, thank you, dude. I'm good. If his mom just died, thoughts and prayers to him and his family. If that's true, I won't. I take back everything. I have no dog in this fight whatsoever.
I mean, honestly, he always like sad, like, God damn, this bitch is still hanging in there, man. God damn. I don't know how she's doing it. They told her 3 months. It's been a year. What the hell?
Yo, it's dark. God. Yeah.
I was never close with my mother, so.
Oh, man.
All right, we can move on. Anyways, we're on opposite sides of this one by a prediction. I'm on Kennedy. Dale is on Devin Clark, but I could see this being some value in the props is what we're getting at. I told you with that one, didn't I? But we can move in. I'm glad you're in a good mood, man. We got a lightweight out up next. Your guy, Drew Dober, who's been on Dale's channel many times in the Punchless MMA podcast. Super personable guy, Muay Thai specialist, great knockout power and a greater chin. Matt Frevola, the wrestler in this matchup, who could get in a firefight himself, stand and bang against the best of them, like Atman Azaitar, he just knocked out last November. Gennaro Valdez, he knocked out like 20 times in that fight. So, but he can also be starched in 7 seconds from Terrence McKinney.
Right.
Knocked out by Polo Reyes. He could be knocked down multiple times from Lando Venata, a fight I watched recently. So, yeah, I mean, this looks like a tailor-made matchup for Drew Dober, in my opinion, if it wasn't for that wrestling defense that he kind of suffers against. But I think he's a very athletic guy. I think he's going to be quick enough. And his power, I think, is just compared to the chin of Matt Frevola. I mean, that Bobby Green fight that you won big on last time when we were doing a watch-along, that was very impressive, man, because Bobby Green had not been finished in many, many, many moons.
Yes.
And he got knocked out cold. So I'm on the Drew Dober side, man. I have 2 units on him at minus where did I get him at? Minus 210. I think you might have been able to get better than that. But at this point, we're looking at minus 205, minus 210, somewhere in that neighborhood. Plus 175 for Matt Frevola. I saw Frevola by decision. Again, kind of like the last fight, if it's a wrestly, grindy type of performance, you're not going to finish Drew Dober. It would be very unlikely. The guy's been knocked out one time, back in 1999. So it's just pretty irrelevant at this point. Matt Frevola, I saw some plus 300 to 350 by decision, maybe even more when the props drop. So that's where I would go if I was on that side. But give me Drew Dober by knockout in this one. How do you feel, man? How excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Your boy is fighting.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited. I don't want to I'm not going to hijack everything here, so I'll talk quick.
No, hijack it. Let's go.
Well, so full disclosure before I say anything else, Matt Frevola can win this fight. This isn't a gimme, right? Like a lot of people are saying it's a layup, and some layups are harder than others. This isn't a gimme one. If Frevola wants to come out and wrestle and backpack and use the Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan style tactic that their camp is capable of, Drew could potentially have problems with it. I understand the idea of the, we'll hug him for 15 minutes kind of deal. People are on, Drew's ability to thwart takedowns. But here's the thing. He's hard to keep down if you don't have great body control. Islam was able to keep him down, but when you talk to Drew about that fight, he says because these Dagestanis can shift the weight of their body. Like they're somehow able to make their shoulder weigh 150 pounds, you know what I mean, while keeping their feet light. And then they just rotate the weight in their body. Their weight distribution's unlike anybody he's ever faced. You have to understand he's coming from a camp where everybody knows that he's going to want to, they're going to want to wrestle him. So that's realistically all he works on for the most part. I mean, we keep the hands sharp, but most of the camp is jiu-jitsu and wrestling. That's what we do. So Frevola can win this fight. I don't want to say that. Now, that being said, Drew's going to knock him out. He's going to knock him out in round 2. So that's a thing. We can go ahead and cash that slip. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, how do we get there? I think it's because we take the same approach to the Bobby Green. We just keep touching him. We wear him down and then, get him out of there once things get a little sloppy. I'd love to see it in round 1. I'd love like a Clay Guida, Diego Sanchez style firefight. I just don't necessarily know if Frevola is going to put himself in that position in front of his home crowd.
I could see this happening in round 1. I think it's both a gift and a curse that Dober has such a good chin on him. Like that's kind of what got Bobby Green knocked out in his last fight, right? He's like, oh, I'm touching this guy up for an entire round, winning on the numbers, certainly winning that fight. And then he kind of got careless and was just able to, get himself knocked out. So I think that can happen with Frevola in the way that he tags him, feels like he landed flush. There's no such thing as really landing flush on Drew Dober's chin, So I think he's going to get in a firefight after he's able to hit him a couple times.
2 pieces of narrative if you're part of the narrative crowd. One, if Drew Dober knocks out Bobby Green on Saturday night, he will be number 1 all-time knockouts in the lightweight division. He's currently tied with Poirier. He will move into the number 1 spot.
I didn't know he was that many, really. I know he's been around the league for a long time.
Yeah, man. And then number two part of the narrative would be one that his wife is due next month with baby number 1. And if you hear anything about what Drew's been talking about in the last few months leading into this, is he has found a new gear, if you will, under the idea of trying to have to provide for someone else, where he was comfortable with him and his wife. And now knowing that there's something else depending on him, you're trying to take from him. He's got that "you won't take from me" mentality. Now, whether he executes on it or not remains to be seen. But a guy that's come off 3 knockouts in a row, telling you that he's now found a new gear and a desire to finish people, I would be a little. There's some steam there, bro.
Yeah, it's a bad man because he's coming off of what his last 6 fights have all been knockout results. All of his six wins, I should say.
Right.
We're looking at Bobby Green, Rafael Alves in round 3, Terrence McKinney with that epic round 1 performance where he got. I think that was the only time he's ever been dropped in a fight, was to that flying knee from McKinney.
Yes. He
recovers from that and goes in there and starches him. So. Alexander Hernandez, another guy who had a very good wrestling game plan early. We know how he can tend to fade as the fight goes on quickly. Got knocked out in round 2. So, yeah, I can see that path. I can see where you're getting that round 2 knockout from. You got any action on the round 2 specifically, or you just got a big fat money line bet?
Well, so I mean, if what's crazy about the lines is they're tough as far as even rounds go. Like Dober round 2's plus 425, Dober round 3 plus 6 plus 650 range depending on the book. Mm-hmm. I've played both of them because I don't think Matt's going to be. I don't care what he says. I don't think he'll be a willing dance partner in round 1. Now, egg on my face if he is, but I think I'm glad you mentioned the Alexander Hernandez fight. I think he takes a very similar approach. I think he comes out, tries to maybe mix it on the feet a little bit, but primarily he's going to be looking to push, dump, and drag all of round one. You know, he's going to want to put miles on the tires of Dober, get the arms, you know, slowing down a little bit. What he's just not going to understand is that the power carries through to the last minute of the fight. So, yeah, dude, give me Dober, round 2 plus 425, round 3 plus 650. So give me all.
It's very very Chaos Williams-esque the way that he does have that power that translates into all rounds. I like
never
that
goes away, man.
That's a bad man right there, especially at 155. And I didn't even know that he was nearing that knockout record with going on, I think 9 knockouts. I'm counting. This will be the 9th one. So pretty epic there. I think he does get it done. My guy Effie saying, did someone say any action? Absolutely, man. Good to have you in here, brother.
What up, Effie?
Go check out Any Action Sportscast on YouTube, man. Follow my guy Effie. He's in the heart of the scene, fight capital in Las Vegas. Always doing great work on his channel. Interviews, full card breakdowns, and he's a good gambler as well. So check that out. My guy Couch Warrior podcast in the house. What's up, Mike? I'll be rolling with this guy in our panel, like I mentioned a couple times already, later on tonight. Austin, checking in. Punch List crew rolling behind Drew Dober. Let's get it. I am as well. Let's keep moving along. We finished all the prelims, you guys, all 25 of you in here. Hit that like, hit the subscribe. Check out my guy Dale's links in the description. Is YouTube, Twitter, Spotify. Most importantly, you can just crank on Spotify, ignore all your YouTube notifications, and cruise on your way to work. Listen to the smooth, as buttered voice of my guy Dale talking shit on his podcast. That's how I go to work. I love it, man. You know,
we'll have Dober on the show with us on Tuesday, right?
Hopefully drinking some celebratory wine. He's the wine guy, right?
He is the wine guy. Yeah. So last Drew Dober thing, after every fight, we call it the Drew Dober after action report. He comes on the show and we talk about the fight. So Tuesday,
win or lose,
he comes on.
I really respect. I respect
win or lose, he comes on the show, no matter what. So Tuesday we'll have Dober on the show. So, you know, I know you're not big on fighter interviews on your channel, Pat, but here's a chance to get your feet wet in somebody else's pool. You come on over and we'll chop it up with old Double D, the Golden.
Oh yeah, because I'm going to be there. He's going to be on with us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, cool. You'll be there. Yeah,
I'm going to bring my boy Braxton Smith after he gets his knockdown.
Dude, get them all, bro. We'll get them all, man. That's a lot of testosterone in one screen, bro. God,
a lot of horse meat. Let's go. So we can move right along onto the first main card fight. And I am very excited for this one, man. This is one of I know I've said I'm excited for a lot of fights here, especially my boy Braxton. He's a legend already. But my guy, Gracie, taking on Charles Jourdain. I'm a big, just old school MMA fan, huge martial arts fan in general, big, Brazilian jiu-jitsu history nerd. I love the Gracie family. Gracie carrying the torch of the Gracie name, 30th year of the UFC, man, and his technically, I guess his uncle was, the first champion of the UFC, winning that tournament. So this is he doesn't really seem like that involved as far as like the legacy stuff goes. At least he's not vocal about it. Gracie, he's more of like the low key sort of rebellious kid of the family. But this guy is Rickson Gracie's son, and Rickson Gracie's one of the baddest martial artists to ever walk planet Earth. So
right.
Just a pretty incredible. And Gracie, man, if you've watched like Metamoris from back in the day, used to be a good organization for BJJ. Of course, the ADCC Worlds from like 10 years ago. This guy was putting on some amazing performances in jiu-jitsu, just the most epic scrambles. His dad Rickson in the crowd, just always keeping a real stoic face on him. He doesn't even care if his son is in trouble of getting his arm ripped out of his socket or not. He's just kind of folding his arms, watching, knowing it's all going to work out, and it usually did for Gracie. So 3 years plus away from the game, 1-1 in the UFC. I like this guy a lot, man. And Charles Jourdain is a good dance partner for this because he gets taken down in like every fight somehow, either by his own accord of slipping off of a missed kick, just getting dragged to the mat somehow. I mean, playing jiu-jitsu himself, which he did in his last fight. I feel like this hits the mat, and I don't think for a Gracie it's going to take very long for him to get a submission. So 3 years away from the game or more, a guy who's pretty green to MMA in general. I mean, obviously, there's not a whole lot of faith you want to invest in this, but I am putting 3/4 of a unit on the Gracie money line at plus 165, and another quarter unit on his sub prop, which I got on BetOnline at plus 270. So Invested about 75 on the money line, 25 on the submission prop. I like Kron Gracie to come in here and get an upset on his return. What do you think about this fight, man? Or am I giving the Gracie heir to the throne too much credit here?
No, I'm on it for a different reason. I'm on it because it's a fade on Jourdain.
Hey, that works.
Jourdain is one of these guys, and there's a few of them on the roster. Jourdain's one of these guys that in your mind, you have yourself convinced that he fights better than he actually does. You think about the Andre Ewell fight, you think about the Lando Venata fight, you think about these different performances and that stands out. What you don't think about is all the times that he completely shit the bed, right? Like, and I realize that, I'm kind of going back to the well with this, but realistically, 13-6, lost to Nathaniel Wood, lost to Shane Burgos, lost to Julian Erosa, lost to Andre Philly. I mean, I'm not trying to go through all of them, but I mean, anybody that is displaying some level of competence and staying power, that has somewhat of a versatile skill set, he tends to he's having a harder time with than you would think. And you've got yourself convinced, assumptively, that he is better than he really is. It's a fade on him more so than it is confidence in Kron Gracie, because Gracie hasn't fought in 3 years, right? We have no idea, dude. I'm not even the same person I was 3 months ago, let alone 3 years ago. I have no idea what that looks like for Kron Gracie. I have no idea what 3 years looks like. If you go by the media pictures that showed up today, it looks like he's been living in a van. He looks awful.
It looks rough.
He seriously looks like, like he's been arrested for, selling meth in Portland. He's in bad. It looks like he's in bad shape. But that just might be the aesthetic he's going for, right? Like meth head chic. I have no idea what he's doing here. Family pedigree, ability to finish fights, sure. I'll take a small stab on him at plus money, but again, it's more fade on Jourdain than anything else. So,
yeah, it's a typical Kron Gracie move to be late to the party and be a little bit delayed to the game, because I think that's how he started his BJJ career as well. He's not the firstborn to Hickson. Hoxton Gracie was the firstborn, and that guy, speaking of meth head chic, he died of an overdose, and that's when his dad retired, and then Kron Gracie had to step up and say, "Okay, I got a black belt, Dad. All right, I'll go to the ADCC Worlds, Dad. I'll win everything. I'll submit everybody they put in front of me in my weight class, Dad. Cool." And that's how he kind of started his career. So.
Does that make you love me, Dad?
Yeah,
will that make you love me?
So the story of the Gracies I love quite a bit, and I'm invested in the sort of legend continuing here. But right. I do think that this is almost like when you have a guy that has like an ability to knock somebody out, like with one punch, like that one punch knockout power at plus money at heavyweight, give it to me at plus 165, right? Yeah. I feel like that's the same way here with the jiu-jitsu side of things. Like that's not going to take him very long to grab up a limb.
Sure.
Make something happen with Jourdain, who's going to give him every opportunity. So, and Kron Gracie's striking didn't look that bad against Cub Swanson, all things considered. For a BJJ nerd, didn't look that bad. So
no, he held his own against Cub, who cracks. I don't think Jourdain's going to crack harder than Cub is. Jourdain might be a little slicker on the feet, but a little bit more creative. But even then, I don't necessarily know I love that sentence either. So
yeah, we got MMA Jesus, my guy Devon Charles, got Vamshi in here on Jourdain. We got Austin staying away from this fight, as you probably should, with a guy with this little data, right? And not only in the career of Kron Gracie, but also staying away from the cage for this long, which he said at the media day. Where he looked less like a meth head. He looked a little bit more put together at the media day. Right. He said it was like he was dealing with his gym, and after COVID, he just didn't, get any opponents offered to him that he really wanted to fight. And I guess Jourdain was the guy that was like the biggest sort of recognizable name that they would give him. So that's where he's at. Daz Files saying that Kron's been underground bare knuckle fighting in Paris, coming back as a striker. I don't even know if is that true? That sounds believable.
That's literally that's the plot of Lionheart. No, Daz.
Yeah,
there's no Lyon. No, that's not it.
Not a Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's not the stand-in for Jean-Claude.
Bro, I love. Listen, let's put a pin in this. We'll just talk JCVD for the rest of the night, bro.
Dude, I went to bed as a kid watching Lionheart. That's how I went to sleep. That's one of my favorites. Moy's audio in the house saying, "Oh, Patty the Batty." And we got our guy Papa Chuck in the house catching a live show. When I make the big money, I'll hire you two to be my bodyguards and betting consultants. we look like a killer combo. We certainly do, man.
I like that.
Do you like how I took that nice screenshot of you cracking up at something?
Bro, it was good, man. that was good. That was a good screenshot, man. That was very rarely do I get a good picture taken. That one looked good, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you took it yourself, man. I found it on your show. So
well, I appreciate that.
You took it yourself. We can move right along on this one. We were on the same side, oddly enough, of that fight, but I do have some cash behind it. But we have the short notice bout here at 145. Movsar Evloev not fighting Bryce Mitchell anymore. He is now taking on short notice Diego Lopez. What was the deal with Bryce Mitchell? Did you see there was like some sort of bruising on his arm? Did he tear something?
I don't know what's going on, man. The whole top of his shoulder was fluorescent purple. Now, I don't know if that was because they had some sort of ointment on it or what the deal was. Here's the thing about Bryce Mitchell, and I'm going to be a hater for a split second.
Oh, good.
I've never been on the Bryce Mitchell train. I don't particularly like I don't particularly think that I don't want to say he's not all that talented. I mean, he's good, but I don't think I've ever bet on Bryce Mitchell, to be honest with you. I'm not sold on him. I'm not sold on his commitment to the fight game. I think he's really just a recycled version of like Diego Sanchez as far as his personality, his shtick goes. And I think all of his stuff that he does is pretty rudimentary. I really do. And I don't think he's invested in it the way some of the other guys and girls are that are out there. I said it before. I'll say it again. I think we're less than 5 fights away between no more Bryce Mitchell fighting at all. I don't think he's long for this world, man. I don't think this is it for him.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been a tough matchup for him. I was definitely on the Evloev side of this one because
for sure, absolutely. Topuria exposed him. I mean, that was an ass whooping of epic. Of epic proportion, and then he handled it poorly too. He was all like weepy and sad and downtrodden and all that stuff. I mean, he came in there all hyped up, sitting in the backyard with his coaches, doing like giving alms and prayers to the sky gods and stuff. And then you went out there and got your ass kicked in front of your old lady, and you got to lick your wounds back to Arkansas, bro. I mean, Topuria exposed you. That's the evolution of what you're expecting or when you get up to that upper echelon. And that was a humbling experience. Like, you're never going to get there. That was so bad. There's no adjustments you're making mid-camp, especially out of Arkansas, that's going to get you there.
Yeah, and Austin saying Movsar would have exposed him. She's saying Topuria's hand over Movsar's hand, certainly, but I think it's still, you could put another one that's even over that of Bryce Mitchell's hands. But we're talking about Diego Lopez in this fight, who we did see the last time we saw him for like the UFC audience was on the Dana White Contender Series against Joanderson Brito, who just bum rushed him, took him down again and again. And Diego Lopez seems to have like he's got a good physique for featherweight, not the smallest guy going. He's like, 5'10", 5'11", pretty young in the game still. He's got a pretty active guard off of his back. He's got a good back take I've seen in the regional scene as well. And he loves to get in firefights, man. He's got some pretty nice looping hooks, pretty accurate, and seems to have some durability on him too, a chin. But The takedown defense, not great. Like, his takedown defense at best is diving for a guillotine. Not going to really help you too much against Movsar Evloev. So I'm not even sure if there's odds to this fight. I'd imagine it would be like minus 750, minus 1,000 on Movsar.
Yeah, I completely, and I would say that that line is absolutely justified. There's no reason to really camp on it. I mean, I think once the lines come out, Movsar inside the distance might be the only thing you're looking for. And then if you really want to, maybe say Movsar just kind of takes a, what the hell was it? Like a Khabib Daryl Horcher style approach where he just kind of stretches it out. Like, let me just get some time in the cage. And Movsar just kind of just rides dominant fashion over him, or even like DC did over Anderson Silva, where it's just like, I'm not going to engage you anywhere. I'm just going to hold on to you, and we'll just ride this out for 15 minutes. So once the lines do drop for it, I'd look at Movsar inside the distance and Lopez or Movsar by decision as well.
This is one of those spots where I would love that if I was to parlay up like minus whatever the hell million he's going to be
right.
From Movsar Evloev. You would want him to play the safe game. You'd want him to stay on top and just hold position, get some groundwork so it doesn't get stood back up. Maybe look for a sub in advance, maybe not, because Movsar does have better striking, I think, than Diego Lopez, but it's not as dangerous. I don't think it's going to be as explosive. Like, Diego could land something that would just like be a parlay buster type of strike, right? He could do it. He's got good knees, very vicious hooks. Like I said, he's not afraid to plod forward and get into firefights, and he's pretty fast. But I think he's going to fade under the pressure of Movsar, and I think Movsar gets this one done. It's just one of those spots where you want to see this guy stay active because he does have that shiny 16-0 record. So that's
right.
It's hard to come by these days in mixed martial arts, especially when you have to make your entrance to the UFC.
Sure.
Like in this spot, right? Like a Diego Lopez spot. Like you want to get the call from the regionals and make it to the UFC. Right. You might have to take a fight that's dangerous for your record. And luckily, mixed martial arts is a forgivable one where you can move forward and be a champion with several losses. But Movsar's got that nice O next to his win column. So
let me clarify something I just said real quick, because I said I'd be interested in Movsar inside the distance and Movsar by decision. It's whatever line looks better is what I mean by that. I just want to because some people will hear that and they go, well, he just said the same. He said a different thing. So I just want to make sure what I'm saying.
You meant the money line. You meant I want inside the distance and by decision.
That's exactly.
I want the money line. I wonder what the Movsar decision was something I was going to look at for the Bryce Mitchell fight, anyways.
Right.
But now it's going to be a preposterous number, but probably the only way to play it. And I see. Yeah, Bryce had a good chance against Evloev. He certainly did. I think. I mean, not like a chance that I would have played, but I think if he could have held position early in a round, he could have banked around. I mean, if he hits a reversal, threatens a sub, scrambles on top of Evloev, if that would have played out, I could have seen that. He's got very strong farm boy pressure on top. Like that grip strength is nasty. So I could see him hitting a reversal and holding a position there. And we're looking at, and this is also a good point, Vamshi. This is a good point of why I wasn't eager to. Aliskerov is another one of these guys as well. But Movsar Evloev, you're paying the tax on both ends. Not only are you paying the Russian EV tax of the last name, but now you're paying the undefeated record tax as well. That certainly is going to bake into this line. When the odds makers don't see a loss in your record, they're always just like, here's an extra 20 cents on the dollar you're going to have to pay at minimum. So that's a good point. Hey, what's going on, Mike? Good to see you in here. Should have hammered Ilya at minus 156. Yeah, that was a good. We got a nice line on Ilya last time out in December. That was a good win he had in that fight. But we can move right along to women's strawweight bout. Former title holder Jessica Andrade returning for the third time this calendar year to take on Yan Xiaonan. This time it's a fight down at strawweight. Andrade's, I want to say her natural weight class, but she's been all over the place in the UFC. But where she held the title at women's 115. This is a close fight, man. Why don't you kick us off on this women's fight? Who do you like in this one, and how do you see this fight playing out?
Well, so, I mean, again, I'm big on women's underdogs. I'm big on women's underdogs. And in this instance, I like the idea of a women's underdog because in Yan Xiaonan, you have a mobile fighter versus Jessica Andrade, who's a chaser. She's going to just stalk you. It doesn't matter if you go in circles, figure eights, whatever the spirals. She's going to chase you wherever it is. She's going to try to set traps against the cage. She'll throw the kicks to try to disrupt the legs a little bit. And then she's coming with the overhand. She's coming with the bombs. And you've got to defend the crash as she comes forward. If you can do that, you tend to be pretty successful. Realistically, I think given the pedigree of opponent versus the execution throughout the tenure of Yan Xiaonan. Normally, Jessica Andrade is an auto bet because you have a woman with power that carries, with one punch lights out, knockout power. That's a submission threat with good cardio. Sure, she's almost automatically a bet no matter who she's up against. But you've got an opponent on the opposite side of her that you're getting a great plus money line on that has given you no reason to doubt her skill set so far. So if you're on the Andrade side, it's just because you love her skill set. It's not because Yan Xiaonan has failed to meet some sort of standard that you may have set or that you see some exposed weakness in her game. She's been flawless. So I don't know how you would argue against her other than just being really heavy on Andrade for whatever ancillary reason you might have. That said, give me women at plus money and anytime and always, man. I'm on Yan Xiaonan.
Yeah, you're getting around plus 170 for Yan Xiaonan at this point, minus 200 on Jessica Andrade on DraftKings. This is a very odd spot because I see one of the narratives for Jessica Andrade. It's a good one. The fact that she could wrestle and take Yan Xiaonan down, the weakness of Yan. But isn't it not kind of like an ironic situation here with Jessica Andrade, where we just saw her 2 months ago on very, very short notice against Erin Blanchfield.
Sure.
And the whole deal with like why, even myself personally, I was erring on the side of Andrade. You know, not a good bet in hindsight, but I was getting a good price on her. And she had the championship level experience that Blanchfield didn't have. She had the high level striking, knockout power danger that Blanchfield didn't have. But Blanchfield out wrestled her and took, actually pieced her up in round 1 as well. But now we're looking at a spot where the argument is like, let's pay even more on Jessica Andrade because she's got the better wrestling in this spot than Yan Jourdain.
Right.
It's kind of like a backward kind of logic path I see a lot of people taking here. Not that any of it's wrong. And there's certainly the experience edge that Andrade's going to have, but she has that in every single fight. So I'm like you, man. I find myself on the Yan side, but it's really because I'm letting the money do the talking for me. I'm letting the odds do the talking. I think this is a pretty even fight. You've got the slick movement of Yan Jourdain. You've got the ability for her to skirt around the outside, hit those leg kicks up the middle, keep Jessica Andrade at bay, who's much smaller than her. And I think she's getting better as well. And we've seen Yan Jourdain prepare for this type of thing where she's got to stay on her feet, right? She's, again, you're not a great wrestler, Mackenzie Dern, but, she's still at least preparing those skills at Team Alpha Male and getting the game plan ready where she can stay and strike for 15 minutes. So I like her a lot in this spot, man, at the money line. Not something I'm going to play because I still really respect all that Jessica Andrade has done. I respect her power and her ability to really just like turn the tides of a fight at women's 115 with that incredible power. And the wrestling threat is a real one, right? We saw her against Amanda Lemos last year, get that standing arm triangle. Could that not happen in this fight? It'll be a little bit tougher, but shoot, man, that was another good opponent at strawweight. So we've got all these things. Jessica Andrade going back down to her strawweight weight class. Yeah. Actually preparing this time for a fight and not just taking it on. Still short turnaround, but not like 7-day turnaround. So,
I mean, did she prepare though? I mean, here's the thing, right? Is she made all that money? They re-upped the contract and they paid her a bunch of money to step in super short notice against Blanchfield. And then Blanchfield big sistered her. I mean, literally just bodied her, big sister, pieced her up. And then
hard to watch.
And then 2 months later, she's right back in it again against another tough opponent. I mean, is it too much too soon? Is she just resting on her laurels of where she's at? Is she one of these athletes that always stays ready so she doesn't have to get ready? I don't know what it is, but again, nothing on the Yan side has shown me that I should fade her just yet. So I'll take the opportunity with the decent plus money.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, man. I don't like the fact that I've got to go from, especially it might just be salty. I lost a little bit of Andrade in that one, but now you're asking me to, off of a loss, pay more money.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. On a loss. I got to pay more money. I don't want to do that. It's a bad combination. So I'm on the Yan side. I think that she could win this by decision. You could see what that prop would be if it cut, but you're already getting plus money on her. So let's not get greedy. I mean, that's a solid price at plus 170. And I think the kicking game is going to be able to maintain distance in this fight. So my guy Victor on Andrade by club and sub. That'll be fun. That'll be exciting. I'd love to see it. Dale, do you have any action on this fight or no?
Just the money line. Just the money line on Yan.
Money line. Okay. There you go. And Vamshi saying that nice lead switch head kick, which can land, and that's not going to have to travel too high to land on the face of Jessica Andrade. She's going to be right there for the taken at hip level. She's so short.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I feel like I had something else to say on this one. Oh yeah, you got real fucking snippy with me last night when I asked you about Andrade's nudes, buddy. What's going on with that?
Oh no, that wasn't snippy. That wasn't snippy. No.
You really changed the topic real fast, man.
Well, no. So here's the thing. I don't like to get preachy. So I don't like to get preachy. I'm not a big only
Look,
fan.
man, it showed up on my Twitter timeline. All right, don't blame me. I didn't sign up for any memberships.
Well, here's the thing, though. It showed up on your Twitter timeline because it's an algorithm based on other things that you look at. So
I was doing my fight research, dude.
Yeah, fight research. Okay, yeah, different kind of meat getting beat there, Pat. That's different. Different kind of.
Believe me, man. It's not gonna be to little Jessica Andrade here. It would be what's that girl's name? The one that looks like a mini what the hell is her name? Josia Nunes. That would be the one.
Oh, Josie, Frog Dog. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah,
that would be the one.
Absolutely.
Really get the job done, get the poison out.
I thought you were a Priscilla Cachoeira guy myself, but
no, it's gotta be a featherweight.
No. So man, it's just listen, I didn't want to get preachy on it. It's just OnlyFans is not it's not a company I support or endorse in any way, shape, or form. I'll leave it at that.
There's even a big fade in the betting community behind fading those women who don't have their they're eyeing the ball here. But hey, what are you gonna do? You got to make a living, put that horse meat on the table. But we can move right along
on the table, huh?
to the co-main event, which is Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. 5-round co-main event, title eliminator potentially at welterweight. I think it's been said, but nothing's ever a promise with Uncle Dana. We got the 22-3 Belal Muhammad. We've got Gilbert Burns at 22-5. I didn't realize how similar their records were. Yeah. Gilbert Burns, of course, a long career at lightweight. Now he's been title challenging and putting in work at welterweight, coming off of destruction, as expected, of George Masvidal not that long ago. Earlier this year, round 1 arm triangle destruction of Neil Magny in Brazil. Belal Muhammad is, he's been taking his time, predicting that title run, coming off of quite a streak, and finally, I think his first TKO, I think his second in the UFC technically, TKO stoppage of Sean Brady. And
unbelievable.
I'll kick this one off, man. I like Belal Muhammad, man. I'm on his money line. I'm on a unit and a half on his money line at plus 115. I know I missed the line a bit on that, but also a half of a unit on his decision prop at plus 200, which I think is the most likely outcome. Dude, this guy, you can hate him all you want to, but he fights so differently every single fight. Like he just finds the weakness of his opponents, man. If you're a Stephen Thompson, of course, he's taking you down and wrestling you. If you're a Vicente Luque, he's counter-striking and then waiting for you to wear out, and then he roasts you with some takedowns of his own. Sean Brady, grappler, he's going to stand and strike with him and actually knock him out standing. And then within the fight itself, if this is a 5-round fight, he's going to, of course, probably concede and play counter-striker against Burns early, and then probably start putting the pressure on him late. So give me Belal Muhammad here. And I bet if he wins, they'd still give him a title shot. That's why I said this is potentially a title eliminator, because I think he's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to get screwed out of a title shot and probably fight somebody else and lose before he gets to the belt. That's my long-term prediction. But right now, unit and a half on the money line, half a unit on the decision prop. What's your beef with good old Belal Muhammad?
Oh man, I have no beef with him personally. He has me blocked on all social media channels. But
really?
We got into it about Palestine one time. Anyway, Palestine. Sorry. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. No, from a skill set perspective, I mean, he is what I like in a fighter. He's like he is who I like to bet on. I mean, he's durable. He's got an unending cardio. He can chain wrestle, wrestling attacks together. And it's always been, the issue with the power and the striking. And then lo and behold, he goes out there and gets the TKO over Sean Brady. So, I mean, it looks on paper like he's putting all the pieces together here. That said, he's going up against Gilbert Burns, who Gilbert, took the loss against Khamzat and used it as fuel to just find the next gear, right? Like he literally has just turned himself into a killer of sorts. Now, the things that he's killing are, animals, aka athletes that are kind of ready to be put out the pasture anyway, and Neil Magny and Jorge Masvidal. So it's not necessarily the most quality wins in the world, but he bounces back from adversity well. My concern about Gilbert Burns is head hunting. If he can rock Belal early, I think that's the worst thing that can possibly happen, because he becomes one punch Gilbert after that. We saw it in the the Kamaru Usman fight. I just cannot, I really hope he doesn't rock him. I hope it's one of those things where it's one of we get round 2 out of it before things get dicey, so we can maybe bank a round or so. Belal, all intents and purposes, seems like the guy, but I don't necessarily know if it fits the narrative, man. Like you said, I don't know if it fits. Belal's a company guy, though. He's John Anik's boy. He's through and through UFC, brass tenured. Do you think that plays into this at all? Like, he's saying that he's been guaranteed a title shot if he beats Gilbert Burns, that he somehow has it in writing somewhere. Do you think that's true?
I'm not quite sure. This has not been announced as a title eliminator. Like, are they on the? You're saying like next. You're saying next. I'm saying this is like after the Colby Leon.
I'm saying that if Gilbert wins this fight, a title shot is not promised to him, but Belal has been promised a title shot if he beats Gilbert Burns. Oh,
okay. Well, because I figured there'd be no reason other than to beef up this card or to make it a legitimate title eliminator. Why would it be 5 rounds? Yeah, look, they're gonna stall out Belal. It depends on who wins the Leon fight, like next, right? Is Belal expecting that he's going to jump? Has there been a date for the Colby Covington Leon fight?
I don't think so. I think what he means by title shot would probably be the winner of that.
He's trying to be next. Yeah. So whoever wins that one. I think it depends. There's a lot that could go on, man. Bilal's he's not afraid of, long layoffs and taking time off to just wait and secure that title shot. So
right.
I could see him waiting for this to shake out, however it does. And I think he should get it next. I mean, look, he's one of the only guys that's got like a long streak, right? I mean, Gilbert Burns is on a 2-fight winning streak. One of them against Neil Magny. The Neil Magny one I like because I like Neil Magny. He's but that's his weakness is getting submitted. George Masvidal, that's just a gimme fight. George Masvidal towards the end of his career, now retired. So
I don't think there's a lot of dangerous welterweights that are available that Belal was willing to fight that the UFC could feed him to knock him off his title trajectory. Belal seems to keep fighting and saying that, like, you're trying to get me to lose. You're trying to stall me out. Nobody wants to fight me. I'm just going to keep beating everybody you put in front of me, right? Like that was his chip on his shoulder after the Sean Brady fight. Like, you made me fight backwards. You made me fight a prospect. You made me fight somebody that you thought was going to be a title contender, and I knocked him out. So now he gets Gilbert Burns, who's probably, is his most legitimate opponent to date, discounting the Leon Edwards fight. And this does look like they're setting him up to have him lose here. I don't think the UFC wants Belal Muhammad as a welterweight champion. I'm being 100% honest with you here. I just think he might get a little bit of a push because of his best friendmanship with Anik. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't really quite know that. I think you're right. I don't think a lot of people, and fans included, want Belal to win, but I think the guy is extremely skilled, and I have a respect for the way that he fights and wins. And he's one of these guys that usually that Belal by decision prop is money in a lot of spots here. And I think it's going to be money again, man. I really do. If Gilbert Burns wins, how do you see him doing it exactly? Do you think it's stoppage, or do you think it's like just damage over time and he wins a decision over 5 rounds? It just seems hard for me to. I feel like it's Burns inside the distance.
I feel Burns on this inside the distances. If we're pushing decision, Belal is a real threat. I think it's got to be Burns, but I want him to get it later. Like I said, I need him to get it in round 2 or round 3. The worst thing that can happen is he rocks him in round 1, because then it plays into Belal's style, where he crashes in, he grabs the butt, he drags you out, and then he's just trying to ride you. He's just literally winning rounds by ride time after that. That's just the way he gets it done. Look at the way he fought Damian Maia. It's the same kind of thing. We can't have an early rocking. I need you to get it done in 2 and 3. So
yeah. Shout out to my guy Tajik Bey in the house. I think he agreed with that Belal assessment. So
he did.
Pretty good there. Yeah. Mike saying, kind of, if he was a company favorite, Dana would have put him over rather than Colby. They can't do a Colby versus Belal fight, can they? Because then nobody would be rooting for anybody in that fight. They'd force us on to like making Colby the face instead of the heel in that one, right? Because I think that's how unlikable Belal is.
There's 2 scenarios there. Either Trump is telling Dana put Colby in, which everybody says that Trump likes Jorge more than Colby anyway, or they're going to have Colby beat Leon Edwards, or Colby's going to beat Leon Edwards, and then Connor's not going to fight Michael Chandler, and then it's going to be Connor versus Colby for the welterweight strap at Croker Park.
Oh, man, big predictions, long-term narrative predictions.
Long-term narrative predictions, too.
Hey, Viv Matthew say, "What's up, Patrick? Good to see you in here, Mr. Matthew." Mike said, I think Belal could possibly get a title shot if he finishes Gilbert. Yeah, if he makes a statement, but Gilbert is durable. I think he will last to the bell. I think we see that Belal by decision. We see Daz saying TK around 5 and the over 1.5. I think that's a good spot as well.
A little JCVD there. We got a little J. What movie is that from? He's got the long hair in that one. Is that the one where he's with the bikers?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. I can't see. It's really small on my screen the way it's formatted. Patrick Wilkins in the house saying fight by split isn't unrealistic either. Yeah, probably not. If Belal rallies late and Gilbert has an early success, you could see that happening.
Sure.
If there's some wrestling reversal, some scrambles there mid rounds, I could see that being live as well. But we can move right along to our main event title fight, 5 rounds of action at bantamweight between Aljamain Sterling, the reigning defending champion, taking on the returning Henry Cejudo, former 2 division champion, Olympic gold medalist in the Beijing Olympics, I believe it was. So this guy is a prime athlete that's been on the sidelines, but still not out of the scene. He's been at Fight Ready. You see him preparing a lot of fighters that have been doing pretty well at that camp over the past couple of years. And Sterling has man, Sterling has been on quite a run at this point. I mean, it's been kind of angering. Like, you go from like the unlikable Bilal Muhammad we were talking about to Sterling, who, I don't think many people are really crediting him with a lot of these wins he's been getting. Certainly not the first one at UFC 259 where he ate the illegal knee. He did decent work in the beginning of that fight, but it was certainly almost at the end and a Peter Yan victory. He gets that illegal knee, wins the championship by DQ, goes in there against Peter Yan almost a year later, gets a Gracie split decision over him, which I don't think it was a robbery win, but, you could argue that first round all day over who won that belt. TJ Dillashaw goes in there, his shoulder falls off. Sterling gets the W. So, you can put an asterisk next to all of these performances, but I still think he's big, man. He's big. His striking is coming along. He's fast. Henry Cejudo's been out of the game for a while. I don't want to discredit anything that Henry Cejudo's done, but it's been a long time. A lot of those wins look a lot different in hindsight now than they did at the time for Henry Cejudo. TJ Dillashaw dropping down to flyweight, kind of maybe a botched weight cut, if you could say, since he got finished so quickly. Right. There's just been some weird spots in there for Henry Cejudo as well. But I got to say, I think what sums it up for Aljamain Sterling, why I'm picking him to win this fight, lowest confidence. This is like down at like that level of confidence of like the Ribeiro, what's his face, Holmes
fight. Yeah.
This is like that level of confidence. I got no action on this fight. But for Aljamain Sterling, man, it's better to be lucky than to be good. That's how I think he's going to get it done again here. So give me Aljamain Sterling, split decision, and still. What's your take on this? Please have a stronger conviction on this fight.
I mean, all my reasons why Henry Cejudo loses this fight are all pure conjecture, and there's no science on it whatsoever. So
I have a great show.
Yeah. No. Okay. So full disclosure, Henry's a friend of the show. He's a friend of the program. So I, as a rule of thumb, with the exception of, I think I told you 2 different times, Patchy Mix and Max Griffin, I've never played against people that have come on my show before. And Henry Cejudo, truth be told, is undefeated since coming on my show. So there's take from that what you will. Right?
Gold medal included.
Yeah, gold medal included. No, so here's the thing, right? Is Aljo has looked bigger, and Henry's been away for a long time. He just realistically has been away for a long time. He looks noticeably smaller muscle mass wise as well. And truth be told, that sound froofy here, the energy he's putting off this week is not one of like, I'm going to come in there, I'm going to win my belt back. If you saw the video of Aljo confronting him, he's like, hey, I trained hard. I'm ready. Good to go. Now he might be cutting weight. He might not have want to give Aljo anything. But it just looked different, right? And a lot of things have happened in 3 years. Got married, had a kid, doing the gym thing. That doesn't always make you better. Becoming a dad doesn't always make you better. Becoming a husband doesn't always make you better. Becoming a coach doesn't always make you better. Sometimes it does. We do see some people that take the coaching route. They get very cerebral about the game, and it elevates them because they're able to see things slowed down that they couldn't as an athlete. We've seen that. But man, I'll tell you what, dude, 3 years is a long time away, and you've got a stiff test in Aljamain Sterling. How does Aljo get it done? Probably by sub, just the position that Henry's just not accustomed to being in. But it's not Aljo's fault that the title fights have gone the way that they've gone. You know what I mean? I will agree with him in that sense. I do think there's an asterisk on every one of them, but that's not his fault. That's not his fault. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's one of those spots where you can argue the mentality of these guys coming back after 3 years off all day long. Like, right, has he come back because he sees a guy holding the belt in Aljamain Sterling that he knows he's got a game plan to beat? Is that why he chose this fight to come back? Or is Aljamain Sterling now going to override that with some super aggressiveness because he finally wants to make another statement that he is the true champion here, right? Like, he tried to do that against TJ, and then TJ's body fails him in that fight. He goes in there hurt. So, that's not a statement performance, although he did finish him by TKO. Like, that was just bound to happen a minute into the fight when his shoulder popped. So, I don't know. You could argue this all day long. I think, again, though, Aljamain Sterling, once he gets the back of somebody, that's like his round. Whereas if Henry Cejudo goes for the wrestling game plan, him getting a takedown isn't necessarily holding down Aljo, right? Like, he tends to go for a lot of ground and pound. Does he leave space between his opponents, even as a high-level wrestler, just due to his activity? And I think there's a lot of spots for Aljo to scramble up to his feet. And he could even jump on the back of Cejudo. He's so much bigger and longer. He could pot shot him from the outside, leaving Henry looking for those big 1-1-2s, the big hooks coming in range as the smaller man.
I think if Henry came out there in if Henry came out in a singlet and decided he was going to wrestle, then yeah, we're going to go with the Olympic gold medalist, right? But this isn't wrestling. This isn't. There's other components here that we have to attend or account for, and I just think Aljo, from a skill perspective and momentum perspective, is just going to kind of offer up. I don't necessarily even think that it's a good snapshot of who they are, long-term career-wise, who's a better fighter. It's who's going to win on Saturday night, and I think we're more likely going to see Aljo win on Saturday night.
Yeah, the money line is -115, Henry Cejudo, -105 for the current champion, Aljamain Sterling. I know we're just coming off of the heels of a couple fight cards ago, UFC 285, John Jones coming back after a long layoff, a guy who had never lost the belt, comes back and reclaims the title. This really does give you sort of like deja vu from that.
Right.
We talked about like John Jones been away. He's older now. Same with Henry Cejudo. He's older now, but
sure,
you're looking at a 36-year-old flyweight. And I saw Luke Thomas actually give out that stat on Twitter where it was like 2 wins to 28 losses for guys that were between flyweight and welterweight. That was their record, 2-28 for guys that were 36 years old and I think 35 and older going in there for the title fight. And those were both Tyron Woodley, who had those 2 victories. So not looking good for these lighter weight classes coming back after time off and being older. But if there's somebody to be that anomaly, it would be a guy like a gold medalist in the Olympics for sure. So I could see Cejudo getting this done. Totally agree with the money line. 50-50 fight. I'm gonna slightly edge on the side of Aljamain Sterling, reclaiming himself as the champion, trying to make a true statement this time against the big name. And I will be hands off of this from a betting perspective for sure. Do you have any action on this fight, that being said?
Just a unit and a half on Aljo money line. Nothing crazy. Which, real quick, shout out to whoever Luke Thomas stole that stat from. So that's good. Yeah. That's good investigative reporting. Whoever did that. Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to find, right? It's, you just tally up those stats there. But I thought that was the most interesting one on there, and that was the fact that it was somebody like Tyron Woodley that holds both of those successful ones. And
right.
I always forget how old that guy was when he was still ending his career as a welterweight champion. But hey, that does it, man. 14 fights we got through. Bottom up, man. Drew Dober fight week, Braxton Smith fight week. Yep. Newark stand up. We got a bunch of guys that we watch this community, friends of ours that are going to be there.
Absolutely.
Dale included. I can't wait to see how you guys enjoy yourself. Hope everybody makes big money as they're out there in Newark enjoying the live fights. So the floor is yours, man. Dale, let people know where they can find you, and good luck this weekend, everybody.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I'll see you on Tuesday. We'll talk to Dober on Tuesday. Yes. But yeah, I mean, every Tuesday night, 9:30, YouTube, if you want to do the live stream thing. If not, it's available audio everywhere after that. PunchlistMMA. You can follow me online if you want to do that too, at PunchlistMMA. You know how to do all that stuff. It's the same stuff that you hear everybody say. If you want to, you can. If you don't, that's okay too. There's plenty of sharp folks out there, Patrick included. Just appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chop it up with friends more than anything else. If you're going to be at 288 on Saturday, like I said, I'd love to see you there. I'm flying in from the glorious state of South Carolina. I'll be flying in from Charleston. So yeah, I'll be there. I'm, getting there, drinking beers, eating food, and rolling back out. So, I'll be like a fart in the wind, man. You'll know I'm there for a second, and then I'll be gone. But if you're going to be there, I'd love to meet up with you, especially those in the MMA Twitter space. I'll have some punchless swag as well. So make sure nobody's going away empty-handed, and look for the punchless stickers around the Prudential Center. You might just see a couple of them just being stuck various places.
Nice, man. Well, like I said, man, Dale is a great follow, just an awesome professional podcaster at this point, man. He really does a good twist on this whole gambling thing where it's very entertaining to listen to, more than just straight bets or whatever the case may be. Good banter. Always good to listen to my guy, the Punchlist MMA podcast. Again, check out those links in the description. Good luck at all your betting action. I'll be back tonight at 11 p.m. Central Time, so in 1 hour's time on Couch Warriors podcast on his channel, with co-hosting with my guys Liam Picks Fights and Mushroom MMA. So check that out. See you guys in about an hour's time, and I'll have my best bets and props out tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.